Hello everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. In today's video lesson, we're going to learn how to make black. Yes, you can get black out of a tube, a bottle, you can use black as is. And in more situations, yeah, black is fine. The problem that I find is that when you add black to a color in a painting, it tends to flatten it out and really dull it down. So what I like to recommend to my students is learn how to make black using color. And what this is called chromatic black, black with color. Now for an example, I put out carbon black, which is PBK7, and then I added some white, and it looks like a black that has a little bit of blue to it. Okay, it's a little bit of blue to it. Nice value scale, pretty straightforward. So, well, to make a black, you just basically you can think of taking complementary colors. So we could say, take a violet and a yellow, and take a red and a green, and you can take a blue to an orange, but are you going to get the darks? Are you going to get the real darks out of that? So that's what I'm going to experiment with, because what blue, what red, and what yellows are you going to use? So what are we going to do? My easy way to get chromatic black, and it's so stupidly easy. Oh, Chaos is coming for a visit. So stupidly easy is to basically take a blue and a brown. Which one? Ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, or ultramarine blue and burnt umber. That's it. That's chromatic black right there. But I'm not going to record a 2-minute video for you. We're actually going to do some work. So yes, you are going to have homework. You are going to have homework. You are going to have homework. So the colors that I have out, oh, you probably can't see much of that. Titanium white. And then the carbon black on the original piece. And then here I have Hansa yellow light, Diarylide yellow, Perinone orange, Napthol red light, permanent alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, and right there in the little bitty corner here, Phthalo blue. And they're all DecoArt Traditions, with the exception of this color right here, which you probably can't see, which is DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics Payne's Gray, because I don't have it in Traditions. Well, if we kind of turn around, because DecoArt's a great company that puts all the information on the bottle, we can see that Payne's Gray is made with ultramarine blue, black, phthalo blue, and a red. And the red I don't have. PR23, I don't have that. So if we take ultramarine blue, black, phthalo blue, and some type of red, we can make this Payne's Gray. Well, what Payne's Gray is it? What's it look like? So best way to check it out. This is a ready-made black for you right there. And like, what is it? Yeah, add white to see. Oh, it's got a nice blue tint to it. That's got a beautiful blue tint to it. It's gorgeous. I love that. Let's have that dry just for a spell. You can see it's a lot bluer. It's a lot bluer. Let's write this down so we don't. DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics. Whoops. And gray. This is American spelling. Not in Canada. Well, I'm in Canada. I spell it wrong. I made a mess there. And that's, and I'll write it down. It's PB29, PBK7, PB15, and PR23. Okay. Let's pretend we don't have carbon black. Let's pretend we don't have Payne's Gray. Let's pretend we only have blue, reds, oranges, and yellows. Okay. Well, let's go through to make sure that you do some work. Let's go through the hard way. Then we'll end up with my easy way. Let's start off with red and green. Oh. Red and green, red and green, red and green. Wait. I forgot a color. I'm going to put out some phthalo green, although I don't use it when making chromatic black. But I just want to show you what happens when you use complement. So if we take phthalo green, And then we're going to take a little bit of alizarin crimson. And this, I think, may be a bit too much green. You have to kind of play with it, and you'll get the right ratio. It depends on the brand of paint that you use. So make sure you experiment. Looks black, right? I have a habit of running out of paint. The minute we add white to it, we can see that it is a gray. It does turn out to be gray, but leans towards green. Will this work as a black? Of course it will. If you're using that. If you're using this mixture right here, it will for sure work as a black. No problem whatsoever. Let's really get that color in there. Okay. So this is with Phthalo green and permanent alizarin crimson. Well, what about if we didn't have permanent alizarin crimson? What if we had phthalo green and Napthol red light? Well, first of all, phthalo green will kill Napthol red light. Easy peasy, because it is so strong. So we're going to have to do a little bit of testing here. That's really green. See if we can neutralize that a bit more. Let's add a little bit more red. Now we're closer to a brown. Now we're closer to a brown. It's still too red. See the difference? Just by adding a little bit of the other color. And you know, if you have alizarin crimson to that, you can also add it to this as well. There we go. So let's take that mixture and add a bit of white. And that's actually pretty close. A little bit green. It's more gray than this one here. Okay, so that's with phthalo green and Napthol red light. So I created some sheets. I'm going to propose we do some experiments. These are so easy. I'm going to use these colors. The final experiment, though, we're going to bring in two paints that are, you know, they're all inexpensive, professional quality inexpensive, but is the easiest way to make a black. So I'm going to start. Make sure your brush doesn't have any white in it when you're doing the initial mix, otherwise it'll kind of skew the results. Opposites, phthalo blue and Perinone orange. So if we take phthalo blue, a little bit of phthalo blue and Perinone orange, and I really got to start making up more mixtures. There we go. Well, no. Kind of look at that one. Well, nah, I don't know. I already know where this is going, so you can just tell from my voice. And we'll add a little bit of white to that. And yeah. You know, this could be used as a dark. It's nowhere near a black. The orange is still too strong. Let's bring in a bit more blue. That's really strong, isn't it? Okay, well, if that's really strong, we just need to add a little bit more of the orange. I'm running out of paint. I can still see this is way too blue. Add a bit more orange. That's still really blue. Really, really blue. We need to add still more orange. And I don't think, you know, for what we're gonna, the amount of time that we're spending making this. Oh, that's pretty close. That's actually pretty good. So we're gonna pick that one. The other time we're spending with this, oh, just buy some black out of the tube. That's not the purpose of this exercise. The purpose of this exercise is to learn how to make your own black. Because there are going to be situations where using a black out of the tube, it flattens out the colors. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of the experiment. Okay, and I'm gonna clean that up. Okay. Oh, and I've been getting, I got an email from a few people who have been starting to watch this series, why the paper towel I'm always picking up is dirty. Because I have a stack over here, and this is where I blot the brush, and then I use this to clean up. It keeps everything relatively clean. So now we're going to do the same thing. We did Phthalo blue and Perinone. Let's use Ultramarine blue and Perinone orange. Ooh, the orange is way too strong. Put some more blue in there. Now, what we're going to have with this, ultramarine blue is blue that leans towards violet. Okay. Violet has some red. Orange has some red. So you're going to have to, like, minuscule mixes. Too much red. Well, too much red on what side? Too much red on orange or too much red on blue? Both colors have red in it. So ultramarine blue is not the right color to be using for this. Not even close. Okay, so we're going to scrap ultramarine blue. I am going to put it on here though. And let's take some white with that. Oh, shoot. Let's fix this. I'm gonna have to... I put it in the wrong spot. We may have to come back to that one. Let's make it again. Ultramarine blue, Perinone orange. More blue. I mean, even for me, like, I've been doing this for a long time. This is a lot of work. Now it's too violet. More orange. It doesn't matter which way you go. There's red in both mixtures. It doesn't matter. Face value, it looks dark, but the minute you add the white to it, it takes on a completely different tone. So I'm going to say ultramarine blue and Perinone orange do not work. You can't make it, well, I only want to make this with two colors. We could then take a little bit more yellow into it to neutralize it a little bit more, and you got to be careful that you don't end up making it green. Well, let's say we can take a fresh brush. We try a different type of approach. If we think that we can take, well, this is two ways. Phthalo blue and alizarin crimson to make a violet. The opposite of violet is a yellow. The other way we can work it is taking alizarin crimson and Hansa yellow light to make some type of orange with the blue. So we're doing it this way, but we're changing up the orange. We're using alizarin crimson and Hansa yellow light to make the orange. Or you can look at it the other way, taking a blue and crimson to make a violet, and the violet is opposite to yellow. So we'll see. So we'll do this one first. So phthalo blue, permanent alizarin crimson, and Hansa yellow light. And I'm going to use a different brush too for the white. Look how blue that is. If it's blue, let's add a little bit more yellow to it But we got to be careful. We don't want it to turn green, and I think it's actually turning a little bit green. Oh, no, there we go. So that mixture turned out pretty good, actually. Okay, so this actually would be good for a black, this one here. So that's this one here. This is a good one. Do you know why? Well, if we were to think of this mixture right here, you've got blue, the ultramarine blue, it leans a bit more towards violet, which has red, and Perinone orange leads towards red. You got too much red in that. And this one here, you got Hansa yellow light, you got alizarin crimson, but you have phthalo blue, which leans towards green. That's why this one here didn't turn out too bad either. So now I'm going to put the other one onto another little card. Then for the lesson, I'll actually just glue that on. I'll just glue that on so we don't have to wait for that to dry. So I'm going to rinse my brush. And now we're going to take ultramarine blue and permanent alizarin crimson, which is going to make a very strong violet. Very strong violet. Which is absolutely gorgeous. I have to show you this. It's absolutely gorgeous. And that's beautiful. That's why I don't use dioxazine purple anymore. I use ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. So we have the violet. So now what we need to do is to that, let's add some yellow. The problem with this yellow, it lightens it a lot. Face value, it's still not even close to being, I mean, when you add the white, it's fine. But because the yellow is so much lighter in value, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. So let's try ultramarine blue, Hansa yellow light. Let's make the green. Let's see what kind of green we can get. I'm using the same mixture, just doing it a little bit differently. So I'm looking at this, and it's too flat of a green. If you had a green like phthalo green, then yeah. Then let's add a little bit of red. So I made the green first, then added the red. It's still not enough. You know why? Because ultramarine blue leans towards violet, which has red in it. Alizarin crimson is a red. So it's going to be dominant on the red. Is it wrong? No, not really. It's just, you're just going to get a different type of chromatic black. I'm still going to put this on here. And then some white. So this is a chromatic black that has a little bit of red in it. Again, it's not wrong. You can see this one here leans a little bit more towards blue, leans a bit towards red. The phthalo blue and Perinone orange it leans a bit more towards more orange, brownish, and then the ultramarine blue and Perinone orange, forget it. It wasn't working. So I'm going to put that there. All right. So far, if I had to choose out of all of these, my favorite mixture, well, if you need a warm black, you could use this one. If you need a cool black, you could use this one. So let's try with experiment number 3. We're going to do the same as we just before, but we're going to use a different yellow. Okay, let's use this. Okay, so we're going to take our ultramarine blue again, and now we're going to take our Diarylide yellow. So we're going to make our green first. Ooh, look at that green. And then add permanent alizarin crimson. I need more of that. I don't think we're going to need any more orange. And the problem again with this one here is that it's light. It's lightening up the value. If I add a bit more red, a bit more blue, it becomes more violet. Now, problem with this mixture again, ultramarine blue is a blue that leans towards violet. Alizarin crimson is a red that leans towards violet. Diarylide yellow is a yellow that leans towards orange. What does orange have in it? Red. So if we try to get that a bit more blue, then try to neutralize it with the yellow, that's what you get. Okay, let's try to add that a bit more blue. So it makes a chromatic black that's on the brown side. On the brown side. We're trying to cool that off a little bit more. Here we are. Now it leans a bit more towards green. Okay. Not total fan of that, but if you want a chromatic black, when you put a little bit of white in it was a bit more brown, yeah, that might work. Well, let's do the same experiment now, but let's use phthalo blue and see what we get. So if we take phthalo blue and Diarylide yellow, I cleaned up a little bit. Let's make our green first. That's drying out. And then add alizarin crimson to that. That's really dark. I have no idea what color that is. Ooh, too green. Holy smokes. That's why it's important to add the white. Okay, I think there's still going to be too much green. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So a chromatic black that leans towards green. When you're making the black, you're looking at this, okay? But the minute you lighten the value a little bit, you want to make sure you know what you're going to be getting. So we're going to do the experiment again. We're going to, this time, going back to this one here, paper here. So we did, let's see, we did phthalo blue and orange, and ultramarine blue and orange. So I'm going to try now, making sure I've got this right, I'm going to use Napthol red light and Hansa yellow light to make an orange with phthalo green. So these two, so the blue and yellow will make green, the red and yellow will make orange. So let's see what we can get, because that was close to this. Now I also wrote it again here, which is this experiment here. So using phthalo blue and alizarin crimson to make violet, then adding Hansa yellow light to as a complement. But flipping it around, let's take phthalo blue and Hansa yellow light to make a green, then add alizarin crimson to that. And we did it here. We did it here with Diarylide yellow. I've got so many charts going on. Okay, so we're going to first make our green. So phthalo blue and Hansa yellow light. Bright, bright green. And then add Napthol red light. That's still too green. That's really blue. That is really, really blue. Let's add a bit more yellow to that. There's only one or two ways that I make my chromatic blacks. This is too much work. I'll be very honest with you. It's nice to know, though, the different ways that you can do it. It's nice to know. So before I show you my way of doing it, let's replicate the one that was the best mix so far, which is this one here. So we did phthalo blue and alizarin crimson to make violet, then added the yellow as its complement. We're going to use the same colors, but though we're going to take the phthalo blue and yellow to make green and add the crimson, which will match this here. I know it sounds confusing, but you'll only really learn about making these colors by actually doing the work. Watching the video means nothing. You have to try it with the paint that you actually have. We no longer need Diarylide yellow. And we no longer need this one here. But I do need this one. So now I'm going to make a green with phthalo blue, Hansa yellow light, vibrant green. I already know if I take phthalo green and alizarin crimson, I get a really, 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 really dark, dark, dark. Phthalo green, permanent alizarin crimson. Phthalo green, Napthol red light was good as well. So what I'm looking at really is to try to make something as close to phthalo green. Then to that, add Napthol red, or add alizarin crimson. Still too green. You want to get it dark. I think this may be a little too red. That may be a little too red. Nope. Nope, nope. This is why you don't judge the color based on the palette. You can't. You can't judge. And you know what? Same thing that happened as before. Okay, phthalo blue. I don't make enough paint. And this is a good way to show, well, what happens if you run out of paint? What do we get? Okay, that leans towards green. So that means there's too much blue and too much yellow. So if we add more yellow, it's just going to make even more green. Let's add more alizarin crimson. There we go. So there we are. Okay. Seems like an awful lot of work, doesn't it? An awful lot of work just to make black. You know, how much blue, how much red. What if I told you that you can make chromatic black that will basically give you three colors out of it. What the heck does that mean? If you've been following me, my lessons for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My go-to mix is ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. You can also take ultramarine blue and burnt umber. You can take phthalo blue and burnt sienna and phthalo blue and burnt umber. So let's try making those up, and then you'll see why I choose the colors I do. So the experiment we're going to do now is taking ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, ultramarine blue and burnt umber, phthalo blue and burnt sienna, and phthalo blue and burnt umber. These mixes will work all the time. Let me just clean my brush. And all right, so let's take I'm going to do that one last because that's my go-to mix. So let's first take Phthalo Blue and Burnt Umber. That's instantly black. That's really dark, really dark. And how you just basically from there adjust it the way you want. There's a bit too much blue in that. I could already see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some cards. I'm going to show you how you can shift the colors. Okay, so there's that. And let me take my other brush. So see how bright that is? Now, by adding a bit more brown, and then taking a bit more white. See how it becomes a bit more dull? A bit more brown. Oh shoot, I put white in it. Ah! Well, that's okay. I'm going to do it this way. And then more white. Okay, so you see how it's dulling and dulling and dulling and dulling and dulling? So as we're mixing, and Phthalo Blue and Burnt Umber is not the way that I make my chromatic black. But look how easy it is just by shifting it. So what you're primarily looking for is you're taking Burnt Umber and adding a bit of Phthalo Blue. That's perfect. That's beautiful. Not the way that I make my mixes though, but it'll work. So Phthalo Blue and Burnt Umber. It'll work. Let's just get a little dark in there. There we go. All right, put those aside. Well, what if we take Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Umber? Ultramarine Blue is a much weaker pigment. So you can probably get away with maybe equal parts. Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Umber. Add white. Booyah! Bang on. Bang on. Okay. Take a bit more white to that. There we go. Okay, that'll work. Well, what if we take Phthalo Blue and Burnt Sienna? Now this is the Burnt Sienna that's drying out. And yes, I could have made a Burnt Sienna, but I wanted you to see the true mixture for it. So remember, Burnt Sienna is a reddish brown. When I make my chromatic black, I have it where you can shift towards blue and it can shift towards brown. This is also not the way that I make up my chromatic black. So it shifts a bit more towards the blue. Let's add a little bit more brown to that. Take a bit of white. Okay, so that also works just by shifting it one way or another. The way that I make up my chromatic black is by taking Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Sienna. That is the easiest way to make it up. And you can shift it depending on the brand that you're using. Ultramarine Blue is semi-transparent. Okay, so we have that. So Ultramarine Blue is semi-transparent. If you're needing something opaque, Burnt Sienna, depending on where you get it from, can also be semi-transparent. That's when you might want to do it with Burnt Umber. that's when you might want to do it with burnt umber. So I'm going to bring that in, mix that up. The way that I make up my chromatic black, the more burnt sienna that I add, it becomes closer to burnt umber. The more blue that I add, it becomes closer to Payne's gray. So let's now go on this side and put more blue. And on this side, more brown. I think I'm not going to have enough paint there. Okay, let's take some white. Perfect. Okay. Let's take some white. Oh, we're looking a little bit more neutral now. And let's take some white. And what I like about making it this way, even making my own burnt umber type of thing, that the burnt umber is a bit more reddish. This is how I make it up. By simply taking ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, end of. That's it. That's all you have to do. I want to shift this even a bit more. So taking ultramarine blue and adding just a little bit of burnt sienna to it. This is where you're going to get your Payne's gray. There we go. This is how I make my Payne's gray. If you want to warm it up a bit, you can add a little bit of red. Take a bit of brown in there. See, now it's shifting a bit more brown. Add some white, see true underlying color. There we go. See all these different things just by two lousy little paint colors. Ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. That's how I make up my chromatic black. This is my go-to. This one right here. That's what I use. And in the way that I mix it up here, with the fluid acrylics, not so much, because the fluid acrylics, you know, they're a bit more, they're more semi-transparent. If I was painting something and I had to use the fluid acrylics, and let's just say it was a portrait, I wouldn't really, for mixed media, the fluid acrylics are fine. To create a commissioned portrait or something, a pet portrait or a people portrait where I need to paint the eyes an opaque black, no, I would not use the media acrylics. I would use the Traditions because they're a thicker paint. But if I had to use the media acrylics and that's all I had, and I needed to make an opaque black, then I may want to look towards using ultramarine blue and burnt umber, because burnt umber is a bit more opaque than burnt sienna. Okay, so that's one thing to use that. But even with that, I've never, I can't even think of if I've ever made a chromatic black for a painting using ultramarine blue and burnt umber. It's always been ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. And just to give you an example how fast I can make this, I won't even do it on the paper. On the palette, I'll just do right here. Oh, I don't know if I have enough burnt sienna. Shoot. Me and my big mouth. I literally am out of this. Oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble. And then we'll add white. Let's get a brand new brush. One that hasn't been in water. Okay, let's see what we can get. So I'm taking roughly equal parts. Then as I'm going more towards the brown, and then more towards the blue. Okay. And I'm just going to wipe that out. Look at the different shifts in color. And then here. Look at the different shifts. That is so cool. So when you're getting right about in the middle here, this is your chromatic black right in here. And as you add more brown, it's closer to a burnt umber, and you add more blue, it's closer to a Payne's gray. So there you go. Now I have to get a baby wipe because I think I'm out of my kitchen wipes. So there you go. 2 little colors. Okay, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. You will never go wrong. You will never, ever, ever go wrong. Let's just go with a little bit more ultramarine blue here. Let's see what happens. See, I can just mix this, and it's so easy just to correct. And then let's add a bit more. Oh, let's take this white. And I'm just going to keep going over, and just to show you by shifting it, just how easy that is. Just to shift the color. And do you know why this works out so well? Ultramarine blue is a blue that leans towards what? Violet. Burnt sienna is a reddish brown. Reddish brown. Reddish brown means an orangey color. Orangey. Orangey, is that a word? Orangey color? Opposites on the color wheel. So these work out really, really well. So, ultramarine blue plus burnt sienna equals, geez, chromatic black. Oh. All right, so this is my chromatic. That's how I make my chromatic black. You can shift it in so many ways. So, and then waiting for this to dry, you'll see that it's a lot more vibrant than just using plain carbon black. Not saying using carbon black is wrong. I just prefer making my own mixtures. And the reason why I really started experimenting with a limited palette is when I was working plein air, meaning outside. You don't want to be walking around with 20 tubes of paint or 20 bottles of paint when you're painting outside. You want to use the least number of paints when you're traveling. Okay, so that's the whole key, but working with a limited palette. And, you know, which reds or which yellows or whatever, that's something you're going to have to figure out. I can't tell you, you must use this. Only by doing the exercises in all the videos, using the paints that you have is the way that you're going to learn what the colors can do. And the other thing is that a lot of times paint companies will send you a sample if you want to try. So, you know, a sample, work with Phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and Napthol red light. The crimson, make sure it's a permanent crimson, not the actual true crimson, because that's fugitive, it'll fade. So ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, Napthol red light, and then Hansa yellow light, and then maybe some type of sunshine color if you can. But even with that, I'm finding I could probably eliminate this. So if I have Perinone orange and Hansa yellow light, I don't need this. I don't need this. But I don't really get a clean orange using Napthol red light and Hansa yellow light. It doesn't really work. I get a cleaner orange if I use Napthol red light and Diarylide yellow. So it's up to you how you want to play that. So see if you can get some paint samples. You know, if you go to art stores, sometimes they're doing paint demonstrations. You can ask them, oh, let's see what, you know, can you take your phthalo blue and your crimson, let's see what you get. So you can get them to do demonstrations for you. All right, so that's it. So we've learned how to make our own black. In the entire time to record this video, I could have ended at the 5-minute mark and say, just use Ultramarine Bloomberg Sienna. So easy, so easy. Alrighty. So I'm going to clean up, and you're gonna have all these charts that you can download and refer to. So I'd like to see the charts that you make for making up your own black using different ways. So using the greens and the reds, and using the blues and the oranges and the violets and the yellows. You'll create some charts. Don't forget to make your notes, and then share them in the private Facebook group. I would love to see what you've got. And on top of that, when people see the mixtures, they may get some ideas. Oh, how about if you try this? Or I created the same chart, but I used this blue or this red. So it's nice to see what things are being done. Also, if you have a specific question for this specific video, please post it in the comments below the video box, and I will answer you there. Alrighty, so cleanup time, ready for my next video, and until I see you then, stay inspired.